They thought their whispers would bury you. They thought their lies would break you. They thought twisting your name, poisoning your truth would be enough to end you. Liars always think that way. They smile in your face, then sharpen their daggers in the dark. They plot in silence, weaving their deception into every ear willing to listen. But here's what they always forget. Lies don't just wound, lies create, and in their arrogance, they forgot who they were dealing with. They didn't just weave stories against you, they wove a fire inside you. Every rumor they spread, every trap they set, every shadow they sent your way, it didn't kill you, it forged you. They tried to make you the villain of their story. But what they really made was sur or tai sur and by was the monster of their nightmares. You didn't break under their poison. You didn't vanish under their schemes. You rose, different, stronger, more dangerous than before. Their lies didn't destroy you. Their lies turned you into exactly what they feared most. Liars are predictable creatures. They never fight in the open. They never strike with honor. They hide in shadows, wrapping their daggers in honeyed words. A liar will smile at you, shake your hand, and nod in agreement, while secretly sharpening the blade. They plan to slip between your ribs. Their whispers drip like venom, crawling into the ears of the weak, turning truth into something unrecognizable. They are not brave enough to face you head on, so they twist perception. They poison the crowd against you. They build cages out of rumors, hoping you'll step inside and lock the door yourself. But liars always make one mistake. They think their words can shape reality. They believe their whispers can kill character, break destiny, rewrite fate. They believe a lie repeated enough times becomes truth. What they don't realize is that the divine laughs at such games, because truth does not bow to deception. Fire does not bend to shadows, and strength forged in chaos does not collapse under gossip. Every lie they spoke about you was a mirror, reflecting not who you are, but who they are. Weak, envious, afraid. They never understood it then, but they will, because in trying to break you with lies, they built the very monster that now stands before them. The liars knew they couldn't face you alone, so they gathered their pawns. They called on traitors who wore masks of loyalty. They summoned fakes who pretended to stand beside you while secretly plotting your fall. They didn't just whisper about you, they planted those whispers in the ears of people you trusted. They poisoned relationships, turned allies into strangers, and strangers into enemies. Every rumor they spread was designed to cut you deeper than any blade. Every trap they set was meant to corner you, to make you doubt yourself, to isolate you until you stood alone. They wanted you confused. They wanted you broken. They wanted you buried under the weight of lies so heavy that you couldn't rise again. Even the ones closest to you, the ones who once claimed to care, became tools in the hands of deceit, smiling in your face, waiting for the moment you would finally collapse. But here's the thing about cages built from lies. They can only hold the ones who believe them. And you didn't. You saw through the masks. You felt the poison in the air, and though they thought their net was unbreakable, you slipped through every thread. They built their trap with confidence, but instead of capturing prey, they awakened a predator. They thought their whispers would weaken you. They thought betrayal would hollow you out. They thought the weight of their lies would finally crush you to the ground. But every word they spoke against you became fuel. Every dagger they hid behind a smile became steel in your spine. Every betrayal sharpened your vision until you saw through everyone and everything. They wanted to strip away your worth, but instead they reminded you of it. They wanted to bury your voice, but silence only made your roar louder when it finally broke free. They wanted to make you question yourself, but their lies revealed the truth of your strength. They thought they were building your ending. What they were really doing was building your transformation, because lies cannot bury fire. Rumors cannot chain the divine, and betrayal cannot kill what refuses to die. You didn't just survive their poison. You absorbed it. You turned it into medicine, into armor, into fuel for the storm that now moves with you. They don't understand this kind of resilience because liars live in shadows, and you turned their shadows into light. That's why their lies failed, not because they weren't sharp enough, but because you were forged too strong to break. They whispered about a monster. They painted you as the villain. They told stories of your downfall before it ever happened. But here's the twist they never saw coming. Their lies became the prophecy that fulfilled itself, because every attempt to destroy you only fed the fire within. Every rumor hardened your skin. Every betrayal carved away the weakness they thought defined you. And when the smoke cleared, you weren't the same person they thought they could bury. You weren't the victim they expected to find in the ashes. You were something else, something stronger, something sharper, something they couldn't control. They called you a monster, and now that's exactly what you've become. Not a monster of cruelty, not a monster of malice, but a monster of survival, a monster of resilience, a monster born from the very lies they used to try and break you. They thought monster was an insult, but to you it became a crown, a title, a warning, because the monster they feared was never out there waiting in the dark. The monster they feared was inside you all along, and their lies are what brought it roaring to life. At first, they wanted you small, silent, afraid. They wanted you on your knees, questioning your worth, chained by their lies. But lies can only cage the ones who believe them, and you never did. So the cage broke. The silence shattered, and the victim they thought they created vanished. What stood in your place was something far more dangerous, not prey, predator. You stopped running from their whispers. You stopped fearing their shadows. You turned, faced them head on, and let them taste the strength they had spent so long underestimating. The hunted became the hunter. The one they cornered became the one they now flee from. because nothing terrifies liars more than the moment their target refuses to play the role they wrote. You no longer hide in their story. You write your own. Every rumor is fuel. Every betrayal is ammunition. Every dagger they sent your way becomes the weapon you now carry in your hands. And when you rise with that fire in your chest and that storm in your eyes, they realize the truth. They didn't just fail to destroy you. They built something that now hunts them in return. You are no one's prey. You are the nightmare they created. They thought they were tearing you apart, but piece by piece, they were building something indestructible. Every lie became a spark. Every betrayal became fuel. Every wound they carved into you turned into armor. What they unleashed was not weakness. It was fire. You rose through the ashes of their schemes, towering over the ruins of everything they tried to bury you with. And now the power you carry is something they can neither understand nor control, because they created a storm. And storms don't apologize. Storms don't ask permission. Storms arrive, rip through everything false, and leave only truth standing. They whispered, hoping their poison would kill you. But poison in the veins of the divine becomes medicine. They pushed you into the darkness, but instead of breaking, you grew roots so deep that no force on earth could pull you out. They thought your silence was surrender. They thought your scars were defeat, but those scars became your war paint. That silence became your strength. And when you rose, you weren't the same. You were stronger, sharper, unstoppable. Their lies tried to bury you, but all they did was plant you. And now you stand taller, brighter, and far more dangerous than they ever imagined. Now the liars look at you differently. The laughter has stopped. The whispers have turned into silence, because deep down they know the truth. They weren't just fighting a person. They were feeding a force. They weren't burying you. They were planting you. They weren't destroying you. They were building the very monster they swore they feared. The friends who betrayed you. The enemies who plotted against you. The cowards who believed the lies. They all see it now, and it terrifies them, because when you rise, you don't just rise for yourself. You rise as a storm that shakes their foundations. You rise as a fire that burns through their falsehoods. You rise as the proof that their schemes were powerless all along. And now, when they look back, trembling hands trying to piece together what went wrong, they'll realize it wasn't your downfall they created. It was their own. They made you the villain in their stories, but villains don't bow. Villains don't break. Villains don't fade into silence. The monster they feared is no longer a rumor, no longer a shadow in their imagination. It's standing in front of them, and it carries every wound, every betrayal, every lie as weapons forged against the very people who gave them. By the time they understood who you had become, it was already too late. So let them talk, let them scheme, let them gather in the dark corners, convinced they still hold power over you, because the truth is already written. Their lies didn't destroy you. Their lies built you. You are not the fragile soul they thought they could bury. You are not the victim they hoped to erase. You are the storm they cannot silence, the fire they cannot extinguish, the monster they whispered about in fear, now standing before them in flesh and blood. They may try again, they may regroup, sharpen their daggers, weave fresh webs of deception, but none of it matters anymore. Because what's born from fire cannot be burned. What rises from betrayal cannot be broken. What grows from lies cannot be destroyed. You are untouchable. You are unshakable. You are unstoppable. And every time they see you rise taller and stronger than before, they will regret the day they ever spoke your name, because their lies turned you into something they can never defeat. Their lies turned you into the monster they feared, and the monster that will haunt them forever.